A quick word before we start. Unless you've been living under a rock the past month, you should be aware that Russia is at war. Every piece of body armor that I've examined is being used in the conflict, including the armor we're taking a look at today. Roosgaurd soldiers have died wearing it this month. Many of my videos have suddenly become a lot more relevant as they depict the units involved. I hope that some of you know who you are, have found my content directly applicable. All donations normally feeding into my income will be sent to Ukrainian-affiliated NGOs. Unless I'm able to get my hands on more cutting-edge Armacom or Classcom ceramic plates, I think this test will be the final round of Russian body armor testing. My footage will be somewhat limited as I'm editing this from an army barracks, and will probably upload it with cell phone data. With that said, let's take a look at two classic sets, the Korund-VM and the Bagary. Both of these armors have been in service for around a decade and a half, with the Bagary being used by sober teams mostly, and the Korund finding favor with Roosgaurd units. The Korund-VM and the Bagary armor sets are both very similar in design and are great to examine in tandem because both sets use steel plates that are encompassed with aramid fiber layers. The difference is in how the aramid is employed, with the Bagary using several blankets that surround its plates in a similar fashion to the 6B23 armor. The Korund, on the other hand, uses an aramid bag to contain its steel plate as opposed to internal layers. This excessive use of aramid in both cases is to help mitigate the classic problem of bullet splash effects from impacts against the steel plates. Both of these steel systems are rated GauSS 5. However, there is a GauSS 6 ceramic version of the Korund called the VMK that sadly I've not been able to get my hands on. Let's start with Black Tip P80 308. The Bagary absorbed all splash effects within the Kevlar blankets. Effective, but kinda boring. Excitingly, I had forgotten to install the anti-splash bag on the Korund's plate, so while it stopped the bullet, it sent shrapnel in all directions around the impact. It still stopped the round, and the backspace deformation wasn't a factor on either hit. Don't worry, we'll hit the Korund with its aramid plate cover later, but first a word from my sponsor. This video is made possible by Commando Store. They supply gear that's capable, collectible, and historically significant. Unlike many surplus stores, they take time to ensure that gear is carefully sorted by condition and its native sizing system. It gives collectors a better idea of what to buy, and you won't have to roll the dice on something that may not fit. They also commission their own gear such as new production Pattern 83 chest rigs, South African waxy boots, and an assortment of other cultural artifacts to match. With classic surplus drying up worldwide, Commando Store makes it a core value to preserve historical significance and offer pieces at a higher quality level than the average dusty surplus warehouse. You can keep up with them on Instagram and Twitter, but the mailing list is the best way to stay in the loop. You'll get a few emails each month of what they've got in stock, its history, and a dose of humor. They also have frequent off-the-wall sales events, so you're bound to find something new or get a great deal whenever you check in. Both of these tests are conclusively NIJ Level 3, so I bumped it up to our 30-06 API round. Keep in mind, this armor-piercing incendiary bullet has a smaller core than the 30-06 AP round required to pass NIJ Level 4 testing. This time we had the anti-splash cover on the lower plate of the Korund. The round went through, showing that the Korund isn't even close to NIJ Level 4. Let's try the Bagary. The Bagary also had its plates penetrated by the same round, but here lies the difference. The final layer of Kevlar managed to stop the penetrator. It's still buried in that layer. After this, we continuously abused the Bagary with multiple light-loaded B-32 arm-piercing incendiary hits to see if we could blow apart the Kevlar protection.
I saw smoke.
While this did a number on the aramid fiber as you see, little to no splash escaped the blankets after multiple hits. None of these lighter hitting rounds penetrated either. This robustness of aramid really is required out of a steel plate system and gives the Bagary some points for being the better of the two extremely shitty vests. Obviously, the 3-06 API round was close to penetrating, so the results of a 3-06 APM2 hit shouldn't be much of a surprise.
Rolling.
Slow motion. Rolling.
This was an easy penetration, proving that neither of these vests are level 4 NIJ. I did a follow-up API hit with the main Korund plate after I found the spall liner for it much later, and this was just to cover my bases in case the smaller stomach plate was weaker than the main plate, or if the Kevlar cover might actually make a difference. Unlike with the Bagary, the API hit penetrated the Korund, no problem. Both of these armored vests are incredibly obsolete, yet both, especially the Bagary, are still in use by Russian security forces. And that's okay, I guess. The Bagary's aramid blankets protect the user from impact splash, and it's still an adequate bullet stopper for a SWAT team facing down some smooth-brained Chechen bandit.
You did it.